I want to preface this video by saying that I don't have kids, so if you think that that disqualifies me to talk about what kids need, then I totally understand. It's okay. You don't have to listen to me. But I do remember what it's like to be a kid, and I did teach music lessons for almost a decade long to many families, many different kids. I saw many different types of kids, many different types of families during that time period, and I really learned a lot. I learned a lot. I learned more than I think I could from a parenting class, maybe. I don't know. I just know that I made a lot of observations during that point, and one of them was that kids, from my experience, don't need motivation. They need encouragement. And what I mean is that I think all kids have something. They have something that they like to do, something that they want to do. And if your kid isn't engaging in what it is that you have them doing, well, then maybe you just need to try and help them find that thing a little bit more. And I'm not saying that that's an easy thing, but I think it is completely worth it. And I think it is so important for a parent to do that. And I think it really is the parent's job. And I want to come at this from two different perspectives. One being my own from when I was a kid. I started playing sports at a very young age. I enjoyed playing sports. But then it kind of got to the point where my family, my parents saw that I could possibly receive a scholarship for playing sports. And then they all of a sudden got very involved in it. And they took it very seriously. And it led to a lot of problems, I think, for me, because I got to a point where I didn't want to do it anymore, and I was telling them I didn't want to do it, and it's not like I wanted to lay around and do nothing. I was in theater club, I was playing guitar, I was in a band, I was playing music, I was doing other things I wanted to do, and those things were hindered by having to play sports because my parents wanted me to. And it wasn't just like school sports, it wasn't just like Little League, it was like travel sports every single weekend, 6 games in a weekend, 8 games in a weekend, spending a lot of money on this, a lot of time on this, when I didn't want to do it, and I expressed that I didn't want to do it, but it was kind of like this thing of diminishing returns for them at some point, maybe, where they thought, well, we've invested time into this, we need to just keep doing this, you need to do this. And I mean, I don't know what they were thinking from their perspective to force me into something where if I got a scholarship for college, I would then have to keep pretending that I wanted to do something for 4 more years. And I mean, I ended up getting a scholarship. I did get a scholarship. And then I quit the team because I just couldn't keep pretending to be something I wasn't. And it's like them forcing me to do that was at the detriment of everything else, because all those other things that I loved doing, I just so desperately wanted to do those things and wanted their blessing in doing those things and wanted permission to do those things. And I had actually received a little bit of success in the things that I wanted to do, but they just had their mindset on me doing this one thing and they just would not stop. And looking back on it, I mean, it was not a good experience. And then when I started teaching music lessons, I started seeing this in my students. And it was like, oh my goodness, this is what happened to me. I saw parents who were forcing their kids to play music. And some of these kids had other talents. I remember there was one kid. This kid loved basketball. He loved basketball so much. I would get to the house and he would be in the driveway playing basketball, and his mom would have to drag him in the house, and he would sit down and we'd play music, and he was really good at it. I was a very smart kid, but he just didn't want to do it. And the mom even said to me, yeah, he's good at anything he does, but we want to encourage him. We want to motivate him to do music. And I think it was because they wanted to do music themselves, or they liked music, or they saw it as a more intellectual thing than sports. It was kind of a wealthier family, a very nice family. But I just saw this kid, the second the music lesson would end, he would go right back outside and play basketball. And the mom even asked me, do you think I should still keep encouraging him to do this? And I said, well, he's good at it. He's a very quick learner, but if there's something else he wants to do more, encourage him to do that, because that's where the drive is. That's where the motivation is from the child to keep doing the thing even on their own. Even as life goes on, they'll keep doing this thing because they've had this drive from a very young age. Whereas if you're forcing them to do it, like, that's not gonna, you can only fake something for so long. It's not gonna work out. So I just remember that happening to me many times, and just being in these situations where I was teaching some of these students, and some of them loved music, and it was just such a joy to teach them. It was amazing to see them progress. The students who loved the music, they would just pick it up so quickly. Like, they would learn faster than you think a kid can learn. They would learn way faster than adults, without a doubt. But it was always so sad to me, because I went through this, to see the kids who didn't want to do music be forced into it. It was like just a dreadful experience for them. And when the parents would ask me, should we keep making them do this, I would say no, most of the time. You know, if it was the only thing the kid would do and they only wanted to be on the iPad, then okay, maybe I understand encouraging some other things. And if they're really young and they want to quit right away, like, don't let them quit the first time around. But if you see over time just a persistent struggle to participate in this thing you're forcing them to participate in, just drop it and try to introduce them to other things. It's going to be way better for their mental health. It's going to be way better for the parents as well, because you're not going to need to force them into doing this thing. So, like I said, I don't have kids, so I don't have a lot of advice to give people who have kids, but that's like my number one thing, because that's something that I went through very intently, and it's something that I then saw in my students, and it was always so sad to me to see these kids who had a passion, had something else they wanted to do, and they were being forced and redirected into something they didn't want to do. You know, that was the worst. I would always tell them, don't force them into this anymore. I didn't even care about making the money from the lesson. I just didn't want this kid suffering anymore. So anyway, if you have kids, just try to figure out what it is that they want to do, because there's got to be something. There's got to be something that this kid just loves doing. And when you find that, it's going to be so rewarding to just go on that journey with them. And again, encourage them, motivate them. I mean, they don't need you to motivate them to do things they don't want to do, is essentially what I'm saying. So anyway, if that's something you're struggling with, that's just my word of advice. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next video.